Hey, Mr. Eastman's class. This is Brandon McCaskill. I'm a full-time voiceover talent. I work here in my studio for 40 hours a week, every single week, and usually work with like commercial work, narration, e-learning, telephone IVR, and tons of other stuff. In fact, actually, right after this video, I'll be recording a spot for Nike, which is really exciting. But I was talking to your teacher, and he was telling me that you guys are diving into audiobooks and exploring the process for audiobooks. So I thought I would take you on kind of a tour of me recording my own audiobook. And I do this not so often. I don't record audiobooks very often just because they're lower pay, and I try to stay close to the higher paying jobs, which are commercial and that kind of thing. But recently I wrote my own book. It's called When Christmas Came to Life, and I have it available on paperback, and I also have it on KDP, but there's a third option for it to be available on Audible, on audiobook. So the process for doing that is typically people would hire a professional, someone like me who does this for a living, and they submit it through Acxcom, and I can show you that. Here, I'll pull up the website right now for you to see. All right, so I'll pull it up right here. This is ACX. So this is a site that you can sign up for an account. Whether you're looking for a voice talent, they'll provide you with one. They give you a list of, there's tons of people that do what I do on here. And a lot of people strictly only do audiobooks. It's just something that I don't do. It's just a preference, but that's an option for anybody. And what I will be doing once I finish my audiobook, I'll be logging into my account, uploading my audios chapter by chapter, and then ACX will either approve it or tell me where I need to make a correction, which hopefully that doesn't happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. So what I'll show you here, I'll show you the program I use. It's Logic Pro X. This is where I do all my recording. And this is what they call your DAW. It's your digital audio workspace. So this is where you can just see everything. And obviously you can see that it's quite a long one, because these little individual spots that I did are very close together. That's just me zoomed out at a bird's eye view. So if I was to zoom in here, you'll see how long this actually is. Okay, so I think it's about 14 minutes long. This is just chapter 1 of my book, and I'll play a little bit here so you can hear.
A novel to my son, Oliver, whose story inspired this one. Prologue. The winter air was biting. Snowflakes danced in the sky as the wind pounded against the jagged architecture lining Regiment Street. It was just before midnight, Christmas Eve.
So you can see here everywhere where it's an individual clip right here. So I can highlight the different ones. This just means that I had made mistakes here, or maybe I took a breath. So I wanted to edit out the breaths, because you don't want to hear someone go like halfway through your when you're listening, right? So
lining Regiment Street. It was just before midnight.
Yeah, you can see that there's no breaths, there's no mistakes, and
they thought life had unfolded quite normally for.
Especially for like when you're reading a story like this, there's a lot of instances where you'll reach an end of a paragraph where the mood kind of calls for a little bit of a dramatic pause, and you can kind of see right here that I've left a little bit of a gap.
Life had unfolded quite normally for them.
So like right here, this paragraph, let me listen to what this paragraph is.
Arrival. They were very well prepared for what this child would bring. Or so they thought.
So it's kind of ending on that conclusive paragraph, and you kind of want that to sink into the listener's ear a little bit before starting off on the next paragraph. So that's what I've done here. So let's listen to that again, and then I'll let you listen to the other side of that audio.
Although Elliot and Lucy were anxious about this new arrival, they were very well prepared for what this child would bring. Or so they thought. Life had unfolded quite normally for them, as Lucy's belly grew and grew over the months.
See, it's kind of almost like a new scene, so you don't want to rush right into the next scene. So that's kind of how I approach the performance side of that, and there's other variables you could talk about, like whether it comes to if it's a sad read, you got to kind of have some lower notes in there where it's a little bit more intimate and more serious, kind of something like this. There's a lot of comedy books that out there on Acxcom where it's high pitched and up here in the higher registers of your voice, and because that's the energy that it calls for. So there's that process, the performance side, but then this is kind of the most frustrating for me, if I'm being honest, is trying to not let your mouth make ugly mouth click noises. And this happens to all of us. Every voice talent deals with this, especially early in the morning when I get up and I'm ready to go to work. I have to make sure I drink a bottle of water. Otherwise, when I turn on the microphone, you're going to hear all those ugly little tongue and cheek slaps. And there's ways to combat it. And I don't have, I do right here. Bottle of water, just always taking a little sip every few minutes in between takes. Just keeping yourself hydrated really, really helps. Some people drink tea, coffee. Coffee doesn't work for me. I think it makes it worse for me. Some people chew gum. Apparently that works for some people. It doesn't work for me. My biggest weapon has been just keeping myself hydrated. And I find once I just do a couple of takes or, just I'll read like a page of a book just for, I don't know, maybe just a mouth exercise in the morning. And yeah, there's other techniques that I could walk you through. Like a lot of voice talent will say, never close your mouth. Like when you're reading a sentence, in between each sentence, I'm going to try not to close my mouth, because a lot of the times the noises that are going on in your mouth is because your lips are kind of touching. So I'm going to try that. Here we go. All of a sudden, Elliot started to hear his voice echo. The walls of the barn rattled and shook as a gust of wind threw the barn doors open. So you kind of keep your mouth open, and it kind of eliminates those mouth noises. So on top of that, that's all good. And I'm going to zoom out here. Yeah, this is chapter 1. I wanted to show you guys that. And I have chapter 2 completed with recording, but I haven't edited it yet. So I'm going to show you what I do for editing. So I don't want that to close. I'm going to open up my chapter 2 so you can see that this is all one file. Okay, so I have a lot of editing to do. It looks like I took a break here. I think it was because my son was crying in the other room, so I was patiently waiting for him to stop. And here you can see these are actually a lot smaller than what you just saw before, and I can actually click this to make it a little bit larger, and I can even hit the command plus to make it even larger. And then I can zoom in. Let's go to the very beginning, and I'll show you the process I use. So let's listen.
Here we go. Chapter 1, The Orphanage.
I'm going to turn that up just so you can hear it a little bit better.
It was Christmas Eve. Finn had Chapter 1, The Orphanage.
Perfect. So that's the introductory title.
Chapter 1, The Orphanage. It was
I'll show you what I just did there. I did it kind of quickly.
It was Christmas Eve. Finn had never seen such joy and happiness in one place. He stood in the foyer of the orphanage and watched as about 40 children laughed, sang.
All right, so that's definitely not the end of the sentence. I just ran out of breath or something, so.
And chatted loudly.
All right, so I need to bring that little phrase closer to the rest of that sentence. So what I did was I right-clicked, split, and then I slid it over.
Sang and chatted loudly.
For that to sound more natural, I'm going to bring it a little closer.
40 children laughed, sang, and chatted loudly.
Perfect. So that's all I do. I keep going through the entire thing like that. But as I was listening there, I could hear a little bit of mouth noise. So actually, and I haven't done it to the other chapters, so I'm going to go back over to chapter 1 and show you what I do for little mouth noises that sometimes you just can't avoid. So I have this nifty little, it's called a plugin, and it actually right here. So it's called the RX7 D-Click. It's a special little plugin you can buy for your programs. And what it does is it actually separates your voice and the ambience in the room and takes out those little high-pitch ticks that come from your mouth. It's incredible software. So I already have it set here. I have my parameters to multi-band random clicks, 6.8. I want the width of the click to be set to 1, and then the sensitivity to be 2. If any of these were too exaggerated, it would damage the quality of my voice, which is something I don't want. So I'm just going to hit power on. And this little plugin is so powerful, it kind of causes a little bit of a delay, which I can fix later. You can hear that.
To my son, Oliver, whose story inspired this one. Prologue. The winter air was biting. Snowflakes danced in the sky.
Okay, so that's that. And what I can actually do here is show you, if I click output clicks only, so this is going to play back only the clicks, and you'll be able to hear them if I turn it up loud enough. Let's see if we can do this. Hear those? See right here it's saying that's how many clicks that have been repaired. So yeah, that's really cool. That's kind of one of my favorite plugins that you can buy for programs like this. But yeah, I wanted to show you that. That's pretty cool. Lastly, the last thing I'll kind of talk to you about is all the stuff that goes on inside the studio here. Number one being mic placement. It's really important that you're not too close to the mic, because you'll get a lot of the p and the t and the s sounds that pop and kind of make the listener go, ow, like you don't want them to blow an ear canal. So what you want to do is kind of, the rule of thumb for me is to be a thumb and pinky distance away. I have quite large hands, so that the average human being is probably something like this. So I try to stay approximately right here. And what I want to do is not talk directly into the mic. I want to speak past the mic, because it's going to, those hard P's and T's are just going to slide right by it, as opposed to going right into the mic and causing that puh. And yeah, so that's for the positioning of the mic. Headphones is something obviously you want to have, because you don't want anything, especially if you're on a directed phone call with a client who wants a specific sound, so they're listening to everything you're doing. A lot of the time I'll have them on the phone in my headphones, and they're directing me, so I don't want their voice to pick up in the microphone. So headphones are obviously very important. And what else? Also, glasses, especially when I'm doing long reads. These are blue light glasses. You really don't want to damage your eyes, especially when you're reading little, lines that are hard to see most times. Other than that, you want a quiet space. What they call noise floor, which is the sound of your dead space. If I was to just not talk for 10 seconds here, I would be able to show you that my dead space is -60 dB, and that's pretty standard for every, what every client of mine, requires, which is pretty quiet. And it's a hard thing to accomplish most times. And a lot of people don't realize that it's hard to get a really quiet area in your house. You don't want any echoing. And I could probably move my screen here a little bit. You can kind of see I have some professional studio foam here. And the idea is you just don't want your voice bouncing off of hard surfaces, because the science of an echo is basically your voice bouncing from hard surface to hard surface and coming back into the mic. So we have to eliminate opportunities for your voice to bounce. So having all this foam, your voice doesn't bounce off of that. So that's the science behind that. It's not too complicated. But yeah, other than that, that's pretty much it. Other than the fact when I get this done, I go through my entire book. And what I'll be doing is I'll be sending these off. I'll bounce them out as WAV files, which is like a WAV file is basically an uncompressed file, whereas MP3s, the things that we have on our iPods and our computers, like the things that we listen to, like our music, we can use MP3s because it's the finished compressed file. But if I'm sending an audiobook, especially to acx.com, they're going to want it in WAV because they're going to do whatever they're going to do to it before they launch it to their website. So it's basically like a raw image. You know how you take a picture and you want to do as much editing as possible to the photo? That's why a lot of photographers will shoot in RAW, and videographers will shoot in RAW as well. It's basically the same thing. So, guys, that's it. I really hope this was educational for you. I have a lot of fun explaining this. I actually have a few students of mine that I show the ropes of this. And yeah, it's definitely an industry that not a lot of people know about, and it's a lot of fun. You get to work from home. You basically get to be your own boss. It's really cool. I really enjoy it. And yeah, it's actually an exploding industry because of, you know, if you think about it, our refrigerators are starting to talk to us now. There's a need for voice everywhere. So guys, thanks for watching, and best of luck learning the rest about audiobooks and the process of doing it.